Welcome back to mech200. Going to draw this drive shaft. It's a strange shape, it looks like at first. It's also intimidating because there's all those shapes, contours, corners, and grooves, and fillets, and all this sort of stuff. Just look at it sequentially. It's kind of a, we know that's a cylindrical, there's a cone, another cylinder, and some cones, little tiny cones at the ends. See here, measurement 0, which is inboard of that first, what we call a chamfer, and inboard also of the end chamfer 22. Previously, I've drawn this. It's not my first attempt at this sketch. I've been drawing it too big, so I don't want to make the unit too large. Now I don't want to make it too small. This would be a waste of space. So I want it about this big. You know, not too bad. So let's find the middle of the page. Talk about a plan here. So let's see if I can find the middle. Using my really accurate fingers. Let's say that's the middle. So about the same both ways. You can't see it, there's more paper going up, so I'm trying to avoid going too close. Now, let's say this is the middle. We've got a middle point here, 11. So that's our mark right there. So this is a methodical sort of approach. I'm going to make the unit quite small, if I can. As usual, start with a 0. And, you know, pinky finger, make it bigger than this. You can see some units on this guy. So a little bit bigger than that. For those who are keen to know these things, that's about just under 15, 14, 13 millimeters, about half an inch. 1. Let's see how this goes. Okay, now what I want to do is use it kind of, you know, you're going to go, really? You're going to make a ruler from a piece of paper? Why? Why not? 2, 3, 4. Now to decrease my error, let's start to step this out. That's 4. So we only need 11 really, so let's see where we're at here. Perfect. Let's make sure it fits. So we have 11 going one way up to 20, from 11 to 22. Using the ruler to kind of guide myself. Going the other way, I'm just going to put a couple of dots in here so I can figure out where I am. And then 11 to 0. That's my 0. That's my 22. That's my 11. I'll erase these later. Just connect these together to get a center line. If I can. Come on, man. So it's not bad. It's a little bigger. It's good. I'm not big enough to get some detail. I'm not so huge that I'm going to be cross-hatching for 3 months. So this is good. Now what's the plan here? I'm going to have these cylindrical surfaces. Make sure I'm on the page. So the plan is we start with the center line, which we just drew. We start to map in all sorts of rectangles. So for example, this guy could match up to that guy. We're gonna kind of basically mirror it across that center line we drew. Once we've got that, we can look at this distance here, and then in projection, it'll be half on the center line going the other way for a demo. So this is, say, one full length, will be half the other way. If we're looking at it this way, here's our eye, then we will have this sort of thing. We'll be able to see this end. Man, that's a janky ellipse, sorry. On the other end, we won't be able to see the back face, the back edge, so we just have to draw one of them. Really bad. Fix it up as we go. Once we've got that sorted, we have this nice little, well, hopefully nice cylinder, and we can start to hatch it if we wish. We'll do that in a second video. All sorts of approaches. We're not going to be using any sort of real theory for shading here. So for those purists out there, don't get upset. So we're just trying to show shape. So the key thing here is cylinder, multiple steps into a drive shaft in this case. So let's start mapping this out. I'll post this file or this sketch so you can have a look. It'll be flying past from time to time. Try and keep it under here so you can see it. 0 to 1.5. Now, you can fold it up and all that sort of stuff. Our unit's quite small here. I'm actually just going to put a half by eye. And 1.5, we might be seeing that a lot, so, or we can just do, we can do that, right? So 1.5 to 2 is 1.5. Here we have a radius of 1. We also have a radius of 1/2, so that's 2 dots. And all we're doing is joining these guys together. So that's the beginning. Next, we've got 1.5 to 11, or just straight to 11. Oh, no, 8. So 8. So at 8, we've got 4 as a radius. Sure we got that right. And we can start to connect these up. So this is a cylinder, or at least a cylindrical surface. Next, we've got 8 to 11, and at that measure we've got 4 and 4.5. So 4. And another half, 4.5. This is 8 to 11 is 3, so it's 3 long. Make sure we get that right. So we're there at the middle, and we can connect those up. So we've got this now, up to 4.5, add 11, perfect. Next event is 14.5, so 11 to 14.5, or however you want to think of it, 3.5 more. So 3.5 is half plus 4, and then we've got another one at 15, so that's 4. So that's correct. So again, up here, 4, sorry, yep. So that should be 14.5, so 3.5, correct. And then 4. Out here, our diameter is 5.5, so that would be 6 to 1/2. Just get that right before we lose track of where we are. And then we've got here a 1/2 to 5, 1/2 to 5. Next is 5 for 3 units. So 3 units, 3 units. And our diameter radius right here is 5. Look right, yes. So just using the ruler to set ourselves up. 5. Again, we're ignoring all the shapes, and we'll add those later as we do the ellipses. So we have this little stub, little shoulder that pokes out. It's only 1/2 long, but it's 3.5 in diameter. So if we go from 1/2 to 4, again, you know, you can just chop it off if you want. You just say, it looks close enough, or if in doubt, get yourself some targets. Last sort of rectangle here, it's 3, so 3 in radius. Goes right to the end ish. There's chamfers and stuff, and then we can see here 3.5 ish. Got something wrong here. 3.5. 3.5. Going a little bit out of kilter there. There we go. So that's our shaft shape. From here, excitingly, we need to transfer it across to the other side. I'm going to erase these numbers so they don't get in the way. So one way to do this is actually just use the ruler. So a half to 1, 1 to 2, 4 to 8, a half to 5. Now this one's a little harder, so 5.5, or a half to 5. So we can do it the other way. Half to 5, half to 5, and then next we've got another half to 6, so 6, 2.5, and then 6, 2.5. Next we've got 5 even, so that's 10 on the diameter. So that's 10. Next we've got that same one again. And then we've got here a half to 4. So we can go a half to 4. So you can see we're getting a little bit off kilter here. Might need a line to just get ourselves arranged properly here. It's not so good, but not so bad. So we've got a half to 4, half to 4, there we are, and a half to 4. This should be a half. So it's getting a bit vague in there. And then here we've got our last one, half to 3, so that means we diameter out to 6. We need a start point. So we can join all those together if we wish. If we're missing something, just add it on. That's one janky line. There we go. So that's good. So there's our mirrored version. Now our next step is to 3Dify it. Let's start from the left and move to the right because we love it. Here we've got a diameter 1. That means we have a half going both ways. I'll just line it up. Put a little mark. We might run into this again. So this, we're going to have our eye pointing this way. So we'll be able to see that. The whole surface. Same out here because it is on this face as well. So let's doing it on the next one, 2. So it's on 1, straddling the center mark. Now here we won't be able to see this as it's poking through. We'll do it light and then as it comes up. On the other side, trying to keep it right. We need to keep it tangent here and here. So trying to keep it as symmetrical as we can. Again, this is a sketch, so we're doing our best, but try our best. Here we've got an 8, so we've got a 4 straddling on the 2. Quite large. So, gonna have a tangency here going to here, from here to there. So I find it, because of the way I'm set up here, to do these first. Try and get something useful here. My lines today, I don't know what's going on. My ellipses are terrible, sorry. So these are invisible parts. Won't be able to see this. And if Colin could draw an ellipse, that's where it would be. Same over here, but this only half visible. So 2 tangencies. So coming down here with our same janky shape. And same up here. This guy's a little bigger, so we've got 4.5, which gives us 2.25. So we can just add another quarter onto the end of this. So half, quarter, because of the projection. Again, we won't be able to see over here, so we can kind of help ourselves out. So 2.25 if we want, right? We're kind of aiming over here. So, but once it goes in here, we can't see it, just kind of follow it along and up the other side. This one needs to be visible, so we're going to be a little, hopefully a little more careful here with my terrible ellipses. I don't think we're going to do any more ellipse sketches this year. Whew. Try and fix that as we go. Now you can kind of cheat a little bit to get your edges better. So for example, like if we start fixing this, we can kind of straighten this out, we see this coming up, and then we're going to start heading up here. So don't get too carried away here. This is just to show what's coming. We have to put grooves and stuff in here. This is really bad. So, sorry, I'll give myself an F. So next is the bigger one. Now, if we look at this, we can see, well, how long is this? Well, it's 3.5 to 4. What we could do is go 1/2 to 4. We could give ourselves some help. So 1/2 to 4. So we're coming from this guy, and 1/2 to 4. 1/2 to 4. So because of the projection that we're using, everything lines up. So we've got our tendencies, our end, and let's try it again. See if Colin's any better this time. A little better, not much. Largest. This one is a 5.5. What's 1/2 of 5.5? 2 3/4. So coming from here, we need 1/2 and 3/4. There's our 3/4 and 2, which works out to 1/4 past again, because this should be, what is that? That's a 1. That's right. So we should be 1/2 past. That was a little bit off. So 1/2 past the end. So 1 here, 1/2 here. For the shortcut, that's all you really need to do. Now, what we can do is measure where that is. It's 3. So 3, 3. Minus a, well, it's minus a bit here, whatever. Don't say whatever. So up, light, touch that point, do the other side. Same again on this side, tangency here. We're aiming over here. Again, if you're getting good or feeling good about it, you don't need to draw the whole thing. Got a 1/2 beyond that. 1/2 is right there, so it's going to actually touch here for the next part. So in here, following the same shape, making that rim or shoulder. And just popping out. We'll tidy this up as we go into the cross hatching. There's our rim. Again, like this is fairly finished, so kind of start trying to tell ourselves what we're seeing. Now from here, we won't be able to see any of the hidden parts. So next one is this. We can draw this inside, but we won't be able to see it, I suspect. Right, so we've got a 5, so that's a 2.5. So it'll be completely hidden by this rim, so we don't need to draw it. However, we will be able to see it out here. So 5, 2.5, so 1/2 to 3. So we're going from, so interestingly, this little shoulder in here is completely hidden, right? So you could argue we should have drawn it the other way. We've decided no. So that's where we're going. So here's our tendencies. So again, coming out, aiming to this guy. So tangency, so it has to be smoothly coming out. It's quite a sharp bend, but comes up and around. Oh, nice. We hide all this stuff in here, which is kind of great. So 3, that means 1.5. So 1.5 to 1. So 1/2 to 2. So that's our final end. So coming out. Now, that's our major stuff done. Now, for those who are watching this, of course, all of you, we have these grooves. Now, one of the things that we have in here is, for example, this guy right here in the middle. See this? It's problematic in a way because we can't see it. So if we drew when we're drawing our cross section here, we have a groove in here. We're just gonna put these in by eye. It's down here as well. What we're gonna do is give the viewer some help to see it's there, but we're actually just gonna do another loop, another really janky ellipse here. Ooh. That is our edge that we can see. So this construction in the background is actually quite important. So for example, this fillet here is going to trigger another ellipse construction-wise. It's going to be on the bottom as well. We know from flow lines we'd like this to be big. Nothing's going to get mounted on this part, so we'll make it as large-ish, shall we say. At this end, nothing happened at the end of the cone, sorry. But down here we've got another edge. Should be smaller, bigger, smaller. And then here, interestingly, kind of along in the middle, we've got another ring groove, as we call it. So we'll put it just here somewhere. And a little chamfer. Now, chamfers can be quite straightforward to draw, especially this one small. All we have to do really is just give the viewer an impression of a chamfer by drawing another ellipse right on the left side, in this case, of the ellipse that we can already see. Nice. So let's go ahead here and start detailing this, I suppose. So we've got another ellipse similar, and we've got another one here that's going to back off from that face. We're trying to show the viewer what's going on in here. So we tend to get these little arrangements, little nubs kind of sticking out. If it gets too dark, just lighten it out. For now, I'm going to leave it and see how it goes. There's my edge coming around. So I've got this sort of thing. If you have an eraser shield, this is kind of where it can come in handy. So for example, that little corner that I want to have here is getting hidden by my edge. So you can kind of get in there, if I can find it, and kind of emphasize, not let it slide too much, the little notch. This shows the viewer that there's something going on in here, and in this case, it's another ring groove. Don't get too worried about it, because we're going to be working this quite a bit on the old hatching. So here we've got a second ellipse. Sorry, can't draw on top of the paper. Now I'm going to actually darken this one because this is the edge I like. So that, in a way, that other one becomes a guide. So we've got these surfaces. This is good. Comes around. And this is actually hidden, so we don't need to emphasize it. Again, this ellipse is a little janky here, but just round it off. And we've got our sort of front part finished. Coming around the top here. Got a fillet coming on here, so this is okay. And hits a fillet. If you want, you can kind of show the viewer. But what I'm going to do is add an extra piece of construction to show the end of the fillets, ends of the fillet. So around like so. So I've got these guys. It's going to be half the distance, so it's going to be tighter here. Coming through here. And you guessed it, the same on the other side. Problem is we have this coming around and hiding itself, but on this side there's also the beginning of the fillet, so we'll have another one there. So just follow that, kind of follow that kind of accumulation of ellipses that's hiding in that joint. We'll darken this up later. Because of machining rules, there's no rounds on this guy. So we're going around and just emphasizing this back edge, which is going to be very visible. And the interior of that one. So we got two kind of very close, quite big. They can be quite hard to draw. I'm having a problem here. I'm getting a bit tense here, so I'm hitting my head on the camera. Fix that up later. It's a mess. Coming over, can't see anything in here, so that's all fine. But we can, for example, help the viewer by, the machinist probably, by putting those corners in there, right? So there's a groove there. So we'll put it into the construction. There's a chamfer here. Won't be able to see it very much, but we can put a chamfer on there. So on that messy end anyway, can't see it. So we have this sort of arrangement. So always, even though we're trying to draw kind of representationally, I don't know if that's a word, we want to show with construction what the, say, a machinist is going to want to see at the end. Right, so we've got a fillet here and another groove here. So grooves, fillets, it's all hidden. Out here we've got another fillet, groove, so we're not sure exactly where it is. This is a good job for CAD. Put it out here. And if we want, we can kind of do it again. The key thing here is just you're going to have a series of these guys again. So if we want, we can say, okay, well, that's about a half and a half. So we can just join them together. So unfortunately, a lot more ellipses to go. Two more. And coming around. Ooh, another janky one. And one more. There's a chamfer at the end of this. Sometimes you want to show that there is a chamfer out here. One way to do that is to actually just have it poke out slightly as another sort of ellipse. We'll make a bigger deal about this when we're doing the finishing edges. So we've got this sort of really complicated, and I can't sketch right now, dilemma here. I'm doing a demo and I can't do it. For those who are keen about this sort of stuff, a gear would have a groove, or keyway sometimes. We're not going to draw the keyway. So again, for those who are purists, no keyways. We're just going to stick with the grooves. There we go. The next video will come on from here, and you know what's coming, which is a bunch of cross-hatching. Over to you. And thanks for watching.